Hey everybody, welcome to Franny's Square and to part 2 of the Twinkle Stars Baby Blanket tutorial. So in part 1 of this tutorial, we made the first 88 rows of the blanket and we didn't fasten off. If you haven't done part 1 yet, I'm going to put a link right here. Go ahead and do that and then join us back here. In this video, we're going to be making the border for the blanket and the 11 stars that are going to be sewn onto the blanket. Now, the instructions for the blanket don't really give you any detailed instructions on how to attach the stars. It just says, look at our picture and sew on your stars. So what I'm going to do is I've finished my stars. I'm going to be weaving in all my ends, and in a third short video, I'm going to show you how I decided to lay out my stars and sew them onto my blanket. Okay, so without further ado, grab the beginning of your blanket and all your tools, and let's get started. Okay, so you should have ended with row 88 with a half double crochet, and hopefully you did not fasten off because the instructions tell us not to fasten off. We're just going to continue with the border at this point. And I am really loving the look of this blanket. I think this is so pretty. All right, so let's take a look at the instructions here. Here's the blanket instructions. Let's go to the border. All right. Round 1, right side. So that's the side that we should be on when you turn your work. And the way I can tell that I'm on the right side, which I have shown in other videos, but just so you know, you can see the full V of the stitch on the right side. If I was looking from the wrong side, I only see one side of the top stitch. So this is the right side. Okay. So, round 1, right side, chain 1 and do 3 single crochets in the first stitch, and that's going to be your corner. Then you're going to single crochet in each stitch across to the last stitch and do 3 single crochets in the last stitch, making another corner. Then you're going to work across the ends of the rows of the first side, single crochet evenly spaced to first chain, working in opposite side of foundation chain. 3 single crochet in first chain, corner made, then single crochet in each chain across to the last chain and 3 single crochet in the last chain, corner made. Working across ends of rows of other side, single crochet evenly spaced to the first single crochet and join with a slip stitch in the first single crochet. Okay, so that's a lot of wording. And basically all it's saying is in every corner, we're going to do 3 single crochets, which is going to allow us to turn the corner. And then we're going to do single crochets all the way across to the next corner. Do 3 single crochets to turn the corner in that corner stitch. And then here, these are not stitches. These are your rows. So you're going to just evenly space your single crochets across till you get to your corner. Make 3 single crochets, turn. You're going to do it along the bottom where you have your chain. This is where you actually started your blanket. And then up the other side. So that's really all it's saying. So let's get started and do that so we can see how that's done. All right. So starting with the first line. Chain 1 and 3 single crochets in the first stitch. So here I'm going to chain 1. All right, here's my first stitch. I'm going to do 3 single crochets in that stitch. 1, 2, and 3. So that created my corner. You can see that there. It makes a turn. Then all I'm going to do is in every stitch across, do a single crochet. All right, so just go into the loop, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both on your hook. Just like that. And you want to do that all the way across. Okay, and I'll meet you when we get to the last stitch to make our next corner. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of the row of stitches, finishing off with my single crochets. Okay, then when I get to the corner stitch right here, I'm going to do 3 single crochets to create my corner in that same stitch. 2 and 3. Okay, so that creates my corner, and I'm turning around now. Now I'm going to go down the side with it's going to be rows rather than stitches. And I'm just going to try to do it evenly. So I did my corner right here. So now I'm just going to go into here, do a single crochet, and it's basically a single crochet in each row all the way down. And you'll see it's pretty easy to do it evenly. You have spaces there like that. So I'm going to do that, and you see it's creating a really nice finished edge. I'm going to do that all the way down till I get to the next corner, and I will meet you there. Okay, so here I've come down all the way down the side. I'm at the end here in the last couple of stitches, and I'm going to consider this my corner stitch. So I'm going to do another one here. And then what I'm going to do in the corner stitch, now I'd never weaved in my tail from the very beginning, so I'm just going to lay it flat along the edge as I go down and weave it in all at once. So I'm going to go into what I'm considering my corner stitch here. Actually, I think this could be the corner stitch. So I did 1 in here, I'm going to do 2 more. 1, 2, so that's 3 to turn the corner. I'm going to lay my tail along the top, and now I'm just going to go under each of my beginning chains and make a single crochet. See there? And I'm laying my tail right across the top and going right over it just to weave it in at the same time. And I'm just going to go all the way down the blanket again, under each chain, until I get to the other end. And I'm sure you can guess what we're going to do there. We're going to do 3 single crochets to make a corner. So you can see how nice that corner looks. Just keep going across, and I will meet you at the end of this row. Okay, you can see here, I'm coming up to the corner, going under each chain until I come to the end. Okay, and I am going to consider this my corner chain right there. So I'm going to do 3 single crochets in that. 1, 2, and 3. That makes my next corner, and then just like the other side, these are rows rather than stitches. So I'm going to go in each space, just trying to keep them even. Going all the way up the side, the same as I did the other side. Okay, so just keep doing that. Your border should be looking nice. See how pretty that is? And I'm going to go all the way up the side and meet you at the end of this row. And I wanted to show you what I'm basically doing is just making a stitch per row. So if you remember, these 3 stitches here are the top of your star, that's 1 row, and the bottom of your star is another row. So I'm basically going into the top of the row, doing a single crochet, and then in the bottom in the next row. I mean, in the top of the star, which is the top row, and then the bottom of the star, which is the bottom row. So I'm basically doing 1 stitch per row all the way down. I wanted to show you that. But you can do it any way you want. Just try to space them evenly. That way I know I'm doing it evenly because I'm doing the same thing all the way down. And so now I'm coming back to the end of this row. And to the first place where I did the 3 single crochets to make the corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to right before it and do a single crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the first single crochet of that corner. Just slip stitch. Okay, so now I have made my first round all the way around the blanket. Now, for the second round, it's basically the same thing except with double crochets. Okay, so if we look here, round 2, you're going to chain 3, and that counts as your first double crochet, and then you're going to do 3 double crochets in the next stitch. Then you're going to, and that's going to become your corner. Then you're going to double crochet in each stitch all the way across to the center single crochet of the next corner. So remember, in your corners, you did 3 single crochets. You're going to go to the center one, and that's where you're going to do 3 double crochets to create your next corner, and then continue on. And you're going to continue all the way around. So I'm going to start this here and show you. We're going to chain 3 to make our first double crochet. Okay, so that's the chain 3 to make our first double crochet. Now here's the center stitch of my 3 single crochets that made my corner. So I'm going to do 3 double crochets into that stitch, and that's creating my next corner. Okay, so for a double crochet, we yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. We have 3 on the loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's my second double crochet in that stitch. And now I'm going to do another one. Okay, and that creates my corner there. And now I'm going to just double crochet in each of my previous stitches till I get to my next corner. And I will meet you there to show you how to round that corner. And it's going to be that simple to finish up our border. So we can see here, this is going to be a pretty border. Okay, so we're coming up to the next corner, and yes, I changed my nail polish. I went bowling yesterday, and so I had to take off my nails and I put on new ones, just in case you're curious. Okay, so we're getting to the corner now, you can see, and the double crochets are making a really nice border, so I'm just going to continue here until I get to the center corner stitch, right? So if I look here, I have 1, 2, 3. Those make up my corner stitches. This is going to be my center stitch there. So I'm going to do a double crochet in the one before it. And now, to make my new corner, I'm going to do 3 double crochets in that center stitch there. 1, 2, and 3. And that's how easy it is to make the corner, and then I will just continue along in all of my stitches down the next side until I get to the next corner, and I'll do the same thing in the next corner. Then when I get to the very end, here we go, we're going to join with a slip stitch in the top of the beginning chain, okay, which is the same thing that we did with the single crochets. And then in round 3, we're going to slip stitch in each stitch and join with a slip stitch in the first stitch and then fasten off. So continue doing your double crochets around the blanket. In each corner in the center stitch, do your 3 double crochets to make your new corner, and when you get to the end, you're going to join with a slip stitch in the top of the beginning chain, and I'll meet you there to do that, and then we'll move on to round 3. Okay, so here I am back to the beginning, back to my chain 3, and all I'm going to do is go into the top of my chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to slip stitch into that chain, just closing that second round, just like that. Okay, so let's look at our instructions for round 3. Slip stitch in each stitch and join with a slip stitch in the first stitch, and then we're going to fasten off. So it's very simple. So we're going to start with our next stitch. We're coming out of this stitch here, so I'm going to go into the next stitch and slip stitch right there, and I like to just mark that so I know when I'm back at my first slip stitch, because it's kind of hard to see. Okay, so I just put my stitch marker in that slip stitch there, and now I'm just going to continue to slip stitch around just like this in each stitch, creating a nice finished edge. And when I get back here, I'll slip stitch into that and fasten off. So I'll meet you back here and we'll be ready to do our stars. I did want to mention about slip stitching is don't make it too tight, because then your blanket's going to start to pucker. So just keep it nice and loose as you're doing it. Okay, I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so I've reached back to the beginning, and I'm just going to, I'm just going to slip, and I'm just going to slip stitch and then fasten off. And then we'll get started with the stars. So do that and tie in your end, and then we'll get started. Okay, so it's time to start the stars. We're going to go to page 2, and it tells us how to make the stars. Now, I've chosen 3 colors. I have a yellow, a mint green, and a lavender, I would say, and I've already started some of my stars here. So let's take a look at the instructions. Okay, it says make 11, 4 each with B and C, and 3 with D. So I didn't really label my colors as letters, but I'm going to just do 4 of the mint and probably 4 of the lavender and 3 of the yellow. Not sure yet, but I think that's what I'll do. Okay, so let's start. We're going to start by chaining 2, and then round 1, which is considered the right side, we're going to work 6 single crochets in the second chain from the hook, and do not join. Okay, so we'll start with chaining 2. I'll start with my slip knot. My fingers don't want to work. There we go. All right, and I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then in the second chain from the hook, 1, 2, which is the first chain we made, we're going to do 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, all in the same stitch, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and it says do not join. So we have 6 single crochets so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Then it says place a marker for beginning of round and move marker up as each round is completed. So round 2, we're going to work 2 single crochets in each stitch around, and we'll have 12 single crochets. So I'm just going to mark this stitch as my last stitch of the last round. Let me find a stitch marker here. Just like that. All right. And now I'm going to work 2 single crochets in each of the stitches, ending with that last stitch. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is my first stitch here. I'm going to do 2 single crochets in that stitch. 1 and 2, same stitch. And I'll go to the next stitch. 1, 2, and the next. And the next. And the next. And the last stitch is the stitch that I have my stitch marker in, so I'm going to take that out and do 2 there. 1 and 2. And I'm just going to mark that last stitch as the end of that row. So now I should have 12 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Perfect. Sorry about that, just hit the camera. All right, next round. Round 3. Single crochet in next stitch, 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then repeat that 5 times. So that's basically telling you 6 sets of 2, which is those 12 stitches. So you're going to do a single, then 2 singles, then a single, then 2 singles, all the way around. So starting in the next stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet, then 2 single crochets in the next, then a single in the next, and 2 singles in the next, and a single in the next, 2 singles in the next, and a single in the next, and 2 singles in the next, and a single in the next, 2 singles in the next, a single in the next. Then we're going to end with 2 singles in this stitch that I have marked as the last of the row. 2 singles there, 1, 2, and I'm going to mark that now as my last stitch. There we go. All right, there we go. Next round. Round 4. You're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then you're going to repeat that 5 times, and you should end with a total of 24 single crochets. Right now we should have 18, which you can check and count. I usually count as I go, so instead of going a single, then 2, a single, then 2, I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then when I get to the end and it's 18, I'm okay. Okay, so we're going to do a single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochets in the stitch after that, and we're going to repeat that. So we're going to do a single in the first stitch. That's 1, a single in the next. That's 2, then 2 singles in the next. So that's 3 and 4. Then a single again is 5. A single again is 6. And then 7 and 8 in the same stitch. Then 9. Then 10. Then 11 and 12 in the same stitch. Then 13 and 14 and 15 and 16 in the same stitch. Then 17 and 18 and 19 and 20 in the same stitch. 19, 20, then 21, 22, and then we're going to do 23 and 24 in our last stitch, which we have marked. So that worked out perfectly. 23 and 24, and I'm going to mark that last stitch of that round. So you're seeing the pattern, I'm sure, by now. So, in round 5, we're going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and repeat that 5 times around, and we should have 30 single crochets at the end of that round. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, and then in the next stitch we do 2, 4, and 5. Now what you'll see is whichever round it is, it's a multiple of that number. So this is round 5. So every time we get to the 2 stitches, your last stitch is going to be a multiple of 5. So this is 4 and 5. Now we're going to go 6, 7, 8, and then the next 2 are 9 and 10. 10 being the multiple of 5, the second multiple of 5, right? Makes sense because you're doing 3 and then 2 more, which is 5 stitches. So that was 10, 11, and don't worry if none of that made sense to you, just follow the directions, follow the simple directions. And this is 14 and 15. 16, 17, 18, and then we have 19 and 20, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 and 25, the 5th multiple, then our last set, 26, 27, 28, and then where the stitch marker is going to be 29 and 30, 29 and 30, and I'm going to put a stitch marker in the last one. All right, so for round 6, we know we're going to be doing multiples of 6, right? So we're going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches, and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch. So that's a multiple of 6, and we're going to do that a total of 6 times, and we're going to end with 36 single crochets. So we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 and 6 in the next one. 5 and 6, our first multiple of 6. Then 7, 8, 9, 10, and the next stitch will be 11 and 12. 11 and 12, our second multiple of 6, And keep going like that all the way around. 2, 3, 4, and this will be 17 and 18, our third multiple of 6. Okay, and you just do that all the way around. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 and 24 here, and 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 and 30, and our last set, 31, 32, 33, 30, whoops, 4, and in our last stitch, 35 and 36. 35 and 36. Put a stitch marker in that last one. And you guessed it, for round 7, we're going to do multiples of 7. In round 7, a single crochet in the next 5 stitches, 2 single crochet in the next stitch, and then repeat that 5 more times until you have 42 single crochets. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to do 6 and 7. And you see how when you do the 2 single crochets in a single stitch, it starts to make like a little corner. So you're getting a nice little shape here, 6-sided, because you're going to have a 6-pointed star. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 in the next one. 1, 2, and you can just count and make sure that you end up with 42 single crochets. It's 20 and 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 and 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34 and 35. And our last set, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and then we're going to do 41 and 42 in this last stitch here. 41 and 42. Okay, so now we have the center of our star. Now, to do the points, on row 1 on the right side, which is where we are, we're going to single crochet in the next 8 stitches. Leave remaining stitches unworked, and then we're going to turn. So we're going to do 8 single crochets. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then we are going to turn our work. Okay, turn. Then we're going to chain 1 and single crochet 2 together, then single crochet in the next 4 stitches, and then single crochet 2 together. And what that's doing is decreasing the length of this so it starts to come to a point. Okay, so we're going to chain 1. Now to single crochet 2 together, all we do is we go into the first chain, pull up a loop, go into the second chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3. And that turns 2 stitches into 1. So we've just decreased by 1. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then with the next 2, we're going to single crochet them together again. So pull up a loop, go into the next one, pull up a loop, and pull it all together, okay? So now you've turned again 2 stitches into 1. Now we're going to turn our work, then we're going to chain 1 and single crochet in each stitch across, and then turn. So we're going to turn our work. Again, chain 1, and then just single crochet in each of the stitches across. You should have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the reason I know we had 6 is because we started with 8, but we decreased 2. All right, now we're going to turn our work again. And we're going to single crochet 2 together, single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then single crochet 2 together, again reducing by 2 and having 4 single crochets left. Okay, so we're going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet these 2 together, pull up a loop, go into the next one, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and then we're going to single crochet these 2 together and pull through all 3 and turn our work. And you can see it's starting to decrease and form a point. Okay, now we're going to single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in each stitch across, and then turn. Okay, so we're going to chain 1 and single crochet in each stitch across. 2, and it should be 4 single crochets, 3, 4, and turn our work. We're on the back. Okay, now we're going to chain 1, single crochet 2 together twice, and turn. And we'll only have 2 single crochets left because again we reduced by 2. So chain 1, single crochet these 2 together, and then single crochet these together, and turn our work. Then we are going to single crochet in each stitch across and turn. That's only 2 stitches. So we're going to chain 1 first, and then single crochet in both of those stitches. Okay, then we're going to turn our work. And we're going to chain 1, single crochet together the 2 stitches that remain, which will turn it into 1 single crochet. So You chain 1 and then make these into 1 stitch, single crochet both of them together. Then we're going to turn our work. Then we're going to chain 1 and single crochet in the 1 single crochet that's left, and then fasten off. Okay, so we're back to the front. We're going to chain 1 and single crochet in the single crochet that's left. There we go, and fasten off. Where are my scissors? There we go. And that is your first point. Okay, there we go. Okay, so for the remaining points, you're going to start row 1 with the right side facing and join the yarn with a single crochet in the last stitch of previously made point, and then single crochet in the next 7 stitches, and then turn, and then you're going to repeat the rest of the rows for the point. And these are the 8 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to go into that last one there. Okay, and I'm going to pull up my yarn. I have attached my yarn into that stitch, and I'm going to do a single crochet there. And in the next 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then I'm going to just repeat rows 2 through 9 of the last point to finish this point. So I'll turn my work, I'll chain 1, and I'll start with the single crocheting the 2 together, and then 4 single crochets, and then single crochet the next 2 together, like that, and then continue on and finish this point. And you'll do the same thing for all the rest of your points. And when you get to the last point, don't fasten off, because then we'll start doing our single crochets around the entire star. I forgot on a few of them, did fasten off, and then I had to reattach. It's not a big deal, but if you can remember, don't fasten off when you get to the end of your last point. All right, so keep going, and I will meet you when you get to the end of your 6th point. The one thing I did forget to mention was on the last point, you're going to start with right side facing and join yarn with single crochet in the last stitch of previously made point like you normally do. Single crochet in the next 6 stitches, and then you're going to single crochet in the same stitch as the first stitch made of point 1. So that's just connecting your last point to the end here with this point, and to the end here with this point. And that should be 8 stitches right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is on the end of that point. Awesome. So do that for your last point, and then at the top, don't fasten off. Okay, so I just finished the last point. I didn't fasten off. And if you look at the instructions, sorry about that, we're going to working across ends of rows and in single crochet at top of each point, single crochet evenly around. Join with a slip stitch in the first single crochet and fasten off. So all we're doing is we're putting this edging around the star, which makes it look really pretty. So all we're going to do is going down our star, just start single crocheting all the way around. Just like that. And you're just going to go all the way around the edge of your entire star. And then in the end, your star should look like this and have nice edging on it. And you're going to make a total of 11 stars. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions at all about making this blanket, leave the questions in the comments below, or you can send me an email to my email address at franniesquare@gmail.com, and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. If you do put them in the comments, it's helpful to other people who may have the same question. But again, feel free to email me if you feel better about that. Don't forget, I would love to see your finished blankets and show them off for Crochet and Tell. So when you're done, send me pictures, send me descriptions, tell me anything you learned during this project, anything you want me to tell other people. I love seeing your work. I'm really looking forward to seeing how people completed this blanket and if they made it their own. All right, as always, thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate it. Remember to make it your own, and I'll see you soon.